if we don't fix the gap between where we are today and needing that capacity will never be leveraged. Bringing manufacturing of ATMPs nearer to the patient, giving control to the hospital sites is a way to increase access. AI can sit there, ticking away in the background and forewarn me of problems.
Onyx Live is proudly sponsored by Humphreys Law and Panacea.
My name's Stuart Curbishley. I'm the Chief Development and Manufacturing Officer at ATHera Bio. We're a company that's set up to look at how we can optimise manufacturing in a distributed manner across the UK to start with, but ultimately in larger geographies.
And so how is what you're doing differentiated from other CDMOs?
So I think it's that decentralised piece. We are trying to bring novel bioreactor technology, a few key raw ingredients that simplify the process, but that we can then bring a platform solution to the majority of gene-modified T-cell therapies in a manner that is consistent across multiple sites.
Okay, and to what extent are you leveraging automation?
Automation in the sense that the bioreactors are semi-automated to add media, etc. Automation is the future, I believe, but I think we've got to get from where we are today to needing capacity for a few 100,000 doses a year.
Sure.
And if we don't fix the gap between where we are today and needing that capacity, that capacity will never be leveraged. So we're absolutely focused on devices that can integrate digitally, that's important, and lend themselves to automation, but don't need to be fully automated for today.
What do you think are some of the biggest obstacles in bridging that gap?
I think consistency and platform as you grow. I think we've seen some providers take existing bioreactor solutions and build automated platforms around them. Other developers are bringing new bioreactors to the market that can be automated. But I think it's enabling the small academic centres to use the same platform today that can ultimately scale to automated manufacturing.
And so how much of what you're doing is focused domestically in the UK versus internationally facing?
Domestically focused primarily. Some interesting conversations developing streams with partners in China. I think a lot of really interesting science right now happening in China. Regulatory moves that are allowing manufacturing for named patients more readily, and a speed that we can't compete with. We want to leverage the UK infrastructure as our proof of concept.
Sure.
That's what we're looking to do in the next 18 to 24 months. But then, of course, that lends itself to any academic or hospital medical network on the planet. And we believe that bringing manufacturing of ATMPs nearer to the patient, giving control to the hospital sites is a way to increase access, both for speed for the novel therapies, but also for commercial manufacturing that take away the need to ship material halfway around the globe to ship it back again and leave control where it can be better handled at the hospital.
And in a broader sense, do you feel like the academic institutions in the UK have enough support in terms of infrastructure to be able to put out good work?
I think the best scientists exist in academic centres, but I'd say that as a previous leader of an academic centre. But actually that's where all these therapies are grown out of. So the know-how is absolutely in academic and hospital medical centres. But you're right, the infrastructure to get to scale, I couldn't grow my modest clean room footprint in Birmingham to be able to manufacture commercially. In a network of half a dozen centres, then maybe we could have got some years into that commercial process. And that other thing that does is that means that the manufacturers of today don't have to invest heavily in manufacturing capabilities for today. They can wait until they've got a revenue stream that's consistent and then centralise if needs be. Or it could stay on a decentralised network for the lifetime of the product.
So what would you say is the main pitch for a budding academic in Oxford, Cambridge, UCL to stay here versus upping roots going to Harvard or Stanford?
The know-how in the UK is second to none. I think the regulatory framework in the UK and Europe is probably a little more favourable. The FDA, I know, recently have moved to simplify some of the ATMP space, but I think we understand how to manufacture ATMPs in Europe, and the regulators know how to support us. I think what we need is to see that investment into these startups in the UK so that they're not forced out of the UK because financially they can't exist in Europe.
Okay. And in terms of, from a CDMO perspective, how do you think what you're doing now is going to differ from what you do, say, in 2030?
I think now to 2030, I don't think we'll see great strides in difference in what we do today. I'd hope that we're more consistently bringing new therapies through. I think probably in the 2030 to 35 window, we'll see more of the automation come online. I think the digital revolution has happened and is now being deployed. We see more and more people putting digital end-to-end solutions into the manufacturing space. And I think, dare I say it, the AI world is starting to be useful to us. And I don't mean that AI is going to take over and develop my next gen product, but what it can do is the heavy lifting of some of the quality investigations we might do in the event of deviation that historically took many man hours, expensive, and it's hard for humans to find that one line of error in a 400-page batch record that AI can do with digital infrastructure seamlessly.
When you're looking at integrating AI into infrastructure, how do you try to separate the smoke from genuine value?
The value is what it needs to bring. I think the gimmick side of it is, okay, great, but what we need is where are my teams most consumed for minimal return, if you like, and that is exactly in what I mean with the quality deviation space. If we investigate a deviation for 1 week, let's say, and that same deviation occurs at a different site in 3 weeks' time, if they're not integrated, you don't know. But AI can see that and tell you, hey, this has happened, these were the investigations you did last time, they were your outcomes. And if that helps streamline that investigation and shave 2-3 days off that process, that's tens of thousands of pounds of cost. And that's the tip of the iceberg. The more it integrates into the quality systems of today, maybe we can get to more predictive. We've seen a series of failures in the past that's led to this catastrophic failure. Let's stop it happening before it gets there. And we do some of that with trending, but human trending by its nature is periodic. We go and trend 24/7. AI can sit there, ticking away in the background and forewarn me of problems.
Hopefully we can avoid more of those failures in the future. So thank you so much for your time today, Stuart.
Great to talk to you, thank you.